And with that, we welcome you into the Voice of College Football on a Tuesday night. Not like it's been that long since I was sitting in this chair. 5 o'clock Eastern, Iowa. 6 o'clock Eastern, the Big Ten live show. 7 o'clock Eastern, the Florida State Seminoles live show. So check out those fine productions, of course, here at the Voice of College Football, hosted by myself, and fortunately, the analysis from others. So again, Corey Brad and myself get together to talk Iowa football every Tuesday. We got the Big Ten live show. It's right here on the main channel. Florida State Live was a good show with, of course, talk about replacements for Mike Norvell. And here we are for your calls, which I know it would make it much easier for you to actually call the show if you've got a call-in line to call the show. But I believe we're going to talk some Alabama football if we got our guy Stephen M. Smith stopping by here to talk Bama. The Tide taking on South Carolina. We got the link in the chat if you want to talk some college football with us directly, and we will, of course, go to the chat. And I believe we do have Stephen jumping online. No, we've got a few callers coming in here. That's a good thing. I wanted at some point this week, in addition to doing our typical run through the schedule, of course, for week 9, to look at the standings. Now that we've played 4 games, typically most teams have played 4 games in their conference. They're about halfway through, or in the Big Ten, and the conference is 9 games, the Big 12 included, just about halfway. They'll cross the halfway point this weekend. The conference races are becoming quite intriguing. The Big Ten would be the most boring, actually, at this point, because if Ohio State and Indiana take care of business, then they're good to go, and they will play in the Big Ten championship game. Not to say that things can't happen. It's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that's the only conference where there are 2 teams out in front and nothing else needs to be decided. As long as they take care of business, that's the way it is. It is not the case everywhere else. It is a jumbled mess everywhere else. But let's get to the phone calls, and we start off with our buddy Hall of Fame Trey stopping by. Trey, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, Mr. Mark?
I'm doing well. What do you got going on tonight?
No, we had a couple of personal stuff that came up during the weekend. I've been watching it during went to my reservation as a native. I went to the reservation for a little bit, and I was watching it on my phone. We've seen some controversial stuff going on this weekend in college football. Really, what sticks out to me about Auburn, I mean, Hugh Freeze can't buy a break. It seems it looked like the wheels are falling apart for him. I'm sorry for him. It looked like Texas is getting no better. They almost lost to Kentucky. So I don't declare them making the playoffs at all. They shouldn't with their performances, and they don't catch them to them later, Mark.
Auburn remains the unluckiest team in college football.
And I feel bad for them. I really do. And I think they'll be a really good team. They're a good team, but not as great as others. But they could have switched the Oklahoma win and the Missouri win. We'll be talking about a different Auburn team.
They should be, and I know that this is a cop-out because they didn't make the plays that were there for them. However, they did get just royally screwed, first of all, in the Oklahoma game. I think everybody can agree upon that. They got royally screwed against Oklahoma, and I stopped short of saying there's no doubt that they would have won that game because it wasn't one of those situations where the officials blew a call that was the last play of the game that would have decided the game. But I think we can generally agree Auburn probably would have won that game. And then I think so. They've got this situation at Georgia. We talked about that. We've talked about that over and over and over, where they scored a touchdown that would have made it 17-0. And again, teams come back from 17-0, but it's statistically a long shot. And then we've got this game against Missouri, really the only team that beat them down solidly. And it was only a 6-point loss on the scoreboard, but they got pretty much manhandled up front by Texas A&M. They should be 3-1 in the SEC. And even if they blow one of those games, 2-2 in the SEC, and they're a 5-2 football team right now. We raised this last night, Trey, because there was a conversation I was having that I thought, okay, I'm going to take this conversation. I'm going to take it to YouTube and serve it up, because if you take Auburn Just take their football team, start the season over, put them in the ACC, put them in the Big 12,
Yeah.
which of course they beat Baylor by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
It's just we'll never know, but I think it's fascinating to think of scenarios like that where you take one of the best teams or one of the middle teams in a better conference and just speculate of what they could do in another conference.
Yeah, I think Auburn can be half of the Big 12. I mean, they cannot
I
be.
think they're better than half the Big 12.
Well, they can't beat Texas Tech. Texas Tech's shown improved. They are a good team. Texas Tech is it.
You don't think Auburn could beat Texas Tech?
Well, I gotta watch. I got my girlfriend that likes Texas Tech, and she's right beside me. I'm trying not to get beat up too.
Okay.
So
That's good call on your part.
So I'm very smart.
Well.
She's very good Texas Tech. She loves Texas Tech. She was born in El Paso, so I understand.
Right.
I like the Red Raiders myself. But I think they've shown Texas Tech is a playoff team. I think they win the Big 12. I think manhandledly. Because I don't see nobody else coming in the Big 12 taking it from Texas Tech. They showed what they got. I don't think Auburn would beat them. Now, Auburn would beat Kansas. And I think they would beat Arizona. I think they would beat Houston, TCU. But the only ones I don't think they beat is Utah and Texas Tech.
Okay.
But we all know that Utah is really rough. They are really physical.
I think that Auburn can beat all of them. I'm not saying they're better than all of them. I'm not saying that they would beat them every time. I'm just saying they're fully capable of beating any of those teams on a given day. I would tend to say that Texas Tech's better and Utah's probably better, and Arizona State would be a close call. And Cincinnati's playing some really good football. That'd be an interesting game to watch.
I think they really are better than most Big 12 teams, and Big 12 is better than ACC. I'm sorry. Big 12 back then and the ACC was competing who's the bottom, and Pac-12 was in that mix, and I love the Pac-12. The peak conferences, when you look at Auburn versus these conferences, if you put them together, if it was back in the Jameis Winston and Deshaun Watson / Taj Boyd, Matt Ryan era, 2007 Boston College, they would not beat them. Hell no. They were elite ACC programs at that point in time. Now Auburn will beat any ACC team. Auburn would beat everybody in the ACC by at least 2 touchdowns.
Miami.
Now you look at Miami. Well, they lost to Louisville. And I don't trust Miami at all. I knew someday they're going to slip. Louisville let's not just say Louisville. Let's just say Jeff Brom have the formula to pull off some big upsets from Purdue to Louisville now. He got Louisville on the right track. I think they could be an ACC champion, in my opinion. I think Louisville will take it, and they will be there. But I think they will beat everybody in the ACC, including Miami. Pac-12, well, they used to be Pac-12, but if the Pac-12 was there, they would not beat them. They would not beat the Dennis Dixon or the 2010 Oregon Ducks. They would not beat Andrew Luck in Stanford back then. And they would not beat USC and Reggie Bush years either. So with those eras, they wouldn't. Now, the last couple of years of the falling down of Pac-12, they will beat all of them. Now, Auburn would beat everybody but 2 teams in the Big 12. But what's so weird is they're in the bottom of the SEC. I'm starting to think now that Hugh Freeze can't win close games. I mean, they put him in positions. I don't think he can close them. Auburn's nature right now. They remind me of the new Nebraska. Somehow Nebraska finds a way to lose or get screwed out of it under Scott Frost area. I think they'd be the next Nebraska now. Auburn can't do it. Not under Hugh Freeze. They got to have somebody else.
So I tend to agree with you there, Trey. We had this conversation a couple hours ago during the Iowa show because we were talking some Nebraska as well. And I brought up Maryland under Michael Oxley.
Yeah.
They do the same thing. Shoot, they've had a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter 3 consecutive weeks in the Big Ten. And this has been going on for 5 or 6 years under him, where their record should be so much better. They wilt down the stretch in October, November, and they wilt in games as well. And when you see that maybe the first year under a new head coach, okay, I'll give it a pass. He's changing culture, implementing his system, terminology, doing all those things, getting his really establishing himself as the leader of the program. But when you're doing this 4 years later, then this is a coaching problem. If you cannot make halftime adjustments, if your team is wearing down, maybe they're wearing down physically, maybe you don't have the strength and conditioning program that's as good as the other teams in your conference, whatever the case might be, and it's probably a combination, then that's not getting it done. And you're right. Scott Frost, Nebraska, Matt Rule, not changing things at Nebraska. Mike Loxley at Maryland, now Hugh Freeze, against better competition, but still not getting it done against
this is not
all
the
sorts of
same
teams in the SEC.
This is not the same Hugh Freeze we've seen in Ole Miss. He made Ole Miss into a dominant team with Bo Wallace and Chad Kelly.
I would pull a little bit short and pump the brakes on dominant, but they were a really good team.
I really loved them when they had Chad Kelly. I was a big fan of Chad.
I like Chad Kelly too.
He was awesome, man. He was slinging it everywhere. I loved him.
Yeah, he was a gunslinger. Yep.
But only back then he had what it took, and he had less talent than he did at Auburn. Auburn was way better talent than Ole Miss ever did. Now the flips of script. Now the scripts are flipped now in programs over the years, and he can't do what he did years ago with Ole Miss. He can't do what he does now in the same situation as Ole Miss back then. He can't do it to Auburn. They should have stayed with Liberty. They had it made with Liberty. They had the players for a group of 5 team. They had it. Yes, I've seen that face.
Yeah, he should have stayed at Liberty and not taken the Auburn job.
No, he should have stayed.
Okay, I can't agree with that.
I will tell you why, though.
Okay, go right ahead.
Because Auburn ain't the same now. They're not a big. They're a blue blood or whatever you want to call them. They're
not a blue blood, but I get the point. Yeah,
well, they're not exactly a blue blood, but they're elite program, historical program, and they're not. They don't have the prestige as they once used to. Especially the last couple of years, especially with Brian Harsin, he kind of hurt the program. I would have not took that job because he's not the same. He don't have what it takes to do what he did with Ole Miss and Liberty. Something was wrong. After he had that hospitalization stuff right there.
Well, Trey, of course, you realize you're saying this after the fact. It's easy to say this now. It's like saying Luke Fickell should not have taken the Wisconsin job.
Oh, hell no. He's not. I never wanted him to take the Wisconsin job. He was not up to it, Mr. Mark. And now, come on now. Even I had that coming. I knew this was coming with that guy. Come on now, Mark. We all know that Luke Fickell was not up for the job at Wisconsin. He didn't have what it take anyway. He coached a Cincinnati team, and I think they were at the American Conference at that time.
Yes.
And they didn't have the schedule. Now they're playing the tough teams. And that when he jumped to the Wisconsin, now he had tougher and stiffer competition. And he's not up for that.
Well, that's kind of how it works.
Yeah, you can't really take a coach from the group of 5 and put him in, bigger programs and bigger conferences. It barely works.
Okay, well, we'll have to. I'm not going to challenge your theory there. Because I'm going to have to think about that. I'm going to have to take the examples and run them through.
Billy Napier, Luke Fickell now.
Sure, I understand. Mike Norvell.
Hugh Freeze. And, Mike Norvell.
Hugh Freeze was already at Ole Miss.
But that was years ago. You can't really take what you did 10 years ago. You can't take 10 years ago and apply it now.
You're coming up with all sorts of crazy theories now. Hugh Freeze can't coach at Auburn because he had the Ole Miss job too many years ago?
Well, he don't have what it takes then.
2016, and he gets the Auburn job in 22. It's 6 years later.
Let's be honest, he don't have what it takes like he did back then now, Mark.
Okay.
Oh, come on now.
All right, Trey.
You would think
you took a good conversation and you you're starting to steer it off the rails and say crazy things.
No, come on now, Ms. Mark. But all those things are true.
No,
No,
they're not true. They're your opinion.
well,
This
let's
is
say
one of the
this.
big problems. Listen, everybody that's watching right now. One of the biggest problems we have in this country right now is people don't understand the difference between truth and opinion. So two different things.
Now
All
the
right.
truth. Now the truth is that Luke Fickell, back then with Scott Frost, Matt Rule, and Hugh Freeze,
Okay.
they are not making adjustments. They're not improving. Now,
Okay.
it also could be developments of the players or the scheme, and it's not working. They got to change something up. For Hugh Freeze, like we said earlier, he just don't. I don't know why is he not getting the players he wanted. Now, Jackson Arnold is not what he had, and I mean Jackson Arnold is not the Chad Kelly. He's not Bo Wallace. He's not what's his name from Liberty? That was really good. They don't have
Cadence
yeah.
Salter.
Yeah, he don't have the players like them at quarterback. He got to have a good running quarterback to make this work, and a gunslinger. He just don't have it.
Okay, I don't know if there's a heck of a lot of difference between Bo Wallace, Caden Salter, Chad Kelly, and Jackson Arnold. Like, you're not comparing him to Trevor Lawrence and Bryce Young here.
No, because
we're going off the rails again.
I'm talking about the past quarterbacks he had that had success.
I understand exactly what you're talking about.
He just needs that quarterback that had similar success in the past like he had to fit his scheme. And it's not working for him.
Yeah.
Now,
all right, Trey. We need to keep moving here, but I appreciate the call, man.
All right, thank you.
Call anytime, but all right. Okay. Again, difference between opinion and truth. Two different things. All right. The Amazon links in the description section of the videos, including this one. I sometimes have to be very transparent and admit I don't understand why you would not use the Amazon link that we provide. It's the same shopping experience. You will be amazed at the technology. I couldn't even explain to you why it works this way, but when you click on that little Amazon link that we provide, it instantaneously takes you to your Amazon account, and it's the same shopping experience. Exactly the same. And I came across this bit of information recently that Amazon has $3 trillion. $3 trillion. And the voice of college football, I'm not going to take you completely behind the curtain, not to a T. I'm not going to give you the exact details, but I'll give you this detail. The voice of college football does not have $3 trillion. So, you can walk away from this live stream knowing that. The voice of college football does not have $3 trillion. Amazon's got $3 trillion. So if you're going to buy something on Amazon and you can pass some on to the voice of college football, then, your $100 won't go to pile on top of the $3 trillion at Amazon. You take a 5 off of the 100 and send it to the voice of college football. So the Amazon link's in the description section of all the videos. And I think our count last month was $36. I think that was the count. That was a little high last month. So maybe I'm getting through to somebody out there. I'm getting through. One of these nights, I'm not going to have anyone watching me after about 10 minutes because I'm going to do nothing, but I'm going to go on a rant about the Amazon link, and I'm not going to shut up for like an hour. So that was a mini version of that. All right, folks, appreciate you being here. We are 20 minutes in, and we've got a call coming in from Caden. Caden, what's going on tonight?
Good evening, Mark. It's been a while since we spoke the last time.
Absolutely, sir. What have you been up to?
Well, besides
Dare I ask?
working, besides working, like I said, and letting my favorite team, the 9-time undisputed national champion Ohio State Buckeyes, do what they do, and that's beat
Well,
opponents.
just to make a slight correction there, you misused the term disputed and undisputed.
Undisputed. I said
It-
undisputed, loud
I
and
know you
clear.
said undisputed because you don't understand the term disputed and undisputed. Those 9 national championships, some of them are disputed. They're not 9 undisputed national championships. It could be said that it's undisputed that they have 9 national championships of some sort, but not all of those national championships are undisputed. Just making a correction in the verbiage there, sir.
Anyways, I came on here to say I have said this for the last 8 months that this Ohio State team is elite, and they've proven it for the last 8 weeks, and they're proving it, and they're going to prove it the rest of this season. Now, I'm gonna just simply say this: I'm gonna let Ohio State do the work and let them do the winning. I'm just gonna sit back and relax.
Yeah.
I just sit back and relaxing, watching them beat the crap out of everybody on our schedule because unfortunately, the Big Ten is one of the weakest conferences in college football right now,
Really?
in my opinion. And
Okay.
that's in my opinion.
What conferences do you think are better than the Big Ten?
To be truthfully fair, right now, I'm going to say the Big 12. Right now, in my opinion.
You believe that the Big 12 is better than the Big Ten?
I feel, and this is my opinion, Mark. I feel like
Of
there's
course
better.
it is.
This is better, and I feel like there's more better competition stepping up in the Big 12 in the last couple of years since 2023 or 2022.
When they lost Oklahoma and Texas, they got better.
Right.
Yeah.
But also, I feel like maybe this could be, this could be the jump that the Big 12 needs to step up, and especially if Texas Tech or say BYU comes to the national championship against Ohio State. I know that's going to be one heck of a game. And I've told Big 12 Nation, I will come on this stream and I'll say I give them their props if they beat Ohio State for the national championship.
Okay.
I
There is no one from the Big 12 that is going to be winning any national championship.
Well, I mean the program in specific, Mark. I mean that program.
No, I'm giving the entire conference the opportunity. They're not going to win the national championship.
Anyways, my
That's
point
going to be
being,
my bold prediction for the night.
that's fine, Mark. That's your prediction, and that's your prediction only. Anyways, like I said, if one, and I mean one Big 12 team steps up and plays Ohio State in the national championship, I'll give them credit. And if they beat them, and that's saying beating Ohio State, I'll give them their flowers, the figure of speech flowers.
So let me get this straight, Caden. It sounds like you believe Ohio State can win the national championship, that they probably will win the national championship. But if you forecast them possibly losing the national championship, it's going to be to a Big 12 team.
You heard me correctly, Mark Rogers. Did I not say that's correctly?
I just wanted to clarify the wisdom.
Well, I mean, you're hearing it from Caden the Diesel Freak, the most hated Ohio State fan on this planet. There's only one of me, and there's only one of me. So,
well, that is the truth.
and
I
I
was trying
told,
to
and here,
differentiate truth from opinion to the last caller, but that is the truth. There is only one of you. However, we got Mike Fort just joined the chat. There's only one of him. We got Lisa Sims, only one of her. Bama fan, only one of him. We got Keel, only one of him. William, only one of you. We're all uniquely made and created.
and I told your buddy Minnie and Karen this, and
Okay.
I said it,
Doreen.
and well, basically Minnie and Karen specifically. I told them
Who's
that
Karen?
it's one of your viewers in the
Oh,
comment
I'm
section
sorry.
here.
Go right ahead. My apologies. I thought you were talking about Doreen on the
No, I'm not talking
broadcast.
about Doreen.
You're talking about Karen. I got you in the chat.
You heard me correctly, Mark. Anyways, I told them that in my opinion, until Nebraska beats Ohio State, wins the Big Ten title, and wins the national championship, in any time forward, they can claim that they're an elite team. But until they beat Ohio State, win the Big Ten title, and win a national championship in this modern era, they're not an elite program right now. And that's in my opinion.
Okay, that's a reasonable take. Sure, Nebraska is not an elite program. I think we can all agree on that. I think anyone who believes that Nebraska is an elite program either is delusional or they're just mishearing the question. They were an elite program. They have been an elite program. You could still argue historically they're an elite program over all time, but no, they're not. They're not even a good program right now.
No,
They're
but
not
I'll
even good.
say that
They are
I'll say,
Rutgers.
right. And I'll say this right now, and I'll say this: we play Alabama in 2027 in the Horseshoe. I will tell you this, Mark. If we played Alabama right now, we played them in the Horseshoe, we would beat them easily, easily at home with that defense. And
Maybe.
I'll
Okay.
say this, Mark. Ohio State's defense right now is like the dream team of the Baltimore Ravens. Now, I've talked to a lot of my buddies who are Baltimore Ravens fans who are watching Ohio State football, with myself included, and they've said that this defense is basically like the dream team of the Baltimore Ravens with Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs, James Harrison, and every single bad SOB on that team.
Who else?
That's Ray Lewis. So Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs, James
Yep.
Harrison, J.J. Watt, Justin Tuck. I mean,
What?
list the baddest dudes
The
on
last
planet
three
Earth.
guys you mentioned did not play for the Baltimore Ravens.
Well, I'm saying this is the dream team that
All
if
right.
it happened,
Continue, Kate. Okay. Sure. All righty.
this and Ohio State's defense is playing like them. They're beating the absolute crap out of everyone. And you know what? Right now, I know Alabama fans are scared of Ohio State because they know that this team could shut down Ty Simpson any day with that defense. That's how good this team is. And they've proven it for the last 8 weeks, and they're about to keep it on and roll on like they do. And they show why they're the baddest team in the Big Ten and why they are the 9-time and soon to be 10-time reigning, defending, undisputed national champions.
All right, Kate.
Possibly.
Appreciate you being here.
Oh, and Mark,
Call back
roll,
anytime, sir.
Buckeyes, roll, buddy.
All right. The words of wisdom from Caden, which we tried to communicate to him and clarify what the word disputed means and what the word undisputed means. All right, we got our buddy Stephen M. Smith stopping by. Stephen, how you doing tonight?
Doing good, Mark, and yourself.
I am doing just fine. Stephen, of course, joining us to talk Alabama football, has joined us throughout the years from a number of platforms. The latest here, Ball Exclusives. Before we get rolling on the tide here, Stephen, can you let us know what you do there and what Ball Exclusives is all about?
Well, that is the NBA. That's basketball, pro basketball, right there. So I've been trying my hand there at some basketball covers to show that diverse there in the content, not just the football from the basketball side.
Nice. All right, Stephen, we got this Alabama matchup against South Carolina, and I don't know that anyone's playing the position of quarterback any better than Ty Simpson is these days. And he just looks good throwing that ball. Man, he can make just about every throw on the field.
And this goes back to Mark, not just him waiting his time, but him being a coach's son and the things that Jason Simpson has taught him throughout his life. Also, what he's learned from being around Coach Saban, 2 or 3 years around Coach Saban, being around different offensive coordinators. The talent was always there with Ty. It was never a talent thing. It was always a mental clock thing. When would he be ready to step on the field and produce the way he's done now? And it's taken us some time. He had to sit behind Bryce Young and learn some things. He had to sit behind Jalen Milroe for 2 years, 2023, and of course last year, to learn some more things. So this is what we're seeing right now, the full picture coming full circle. The talent's always been there, but just having the mental capacity to really sharpen every tool in that toolbox, he needed that mental preparation. And with that mental preparation, now we're seeing a Ty Simpson that we thought we would get when he first came in 2022.
Of course, Ryan Williams took the nation by storm last season as a true freshman and was being comped against Jeremiah Smith in an argument there initially when those guys hit the field, who was the better wide receiver. Then things went a little quiet down the stretch and he got off to a slow start this year. So what's the latest on Ryan Williams?
Well, Ryan, we saw him against Tennessee finally get back to having fun as that big-time playmaker. He had about 4 or 5 catches in the game against Tennessee, had a little end-around run there on a reverse there. And I think the biggest thing for him, Mark, is having fun with the game. We know with NIL, name, image, likeness, and these players being compensated, a lot of it can get to them in terms of, I'm trying to take care of mom. I'm trying to take care of dad. I'm trying to take care of big brother, big cousin, with the whole NIL and being compensated. And I guess a lot of that outside pressure got to him a little bit, because you can kind of see he was starting to press a little bit, trying to make the catch, and he's dropping balls, or trying to catch the ball off his body versus just strong hand catching. Now, of course, Ryan has also dealt with some injuries. He's been nicked up. Of course, he had a concussion early on in the season. But I think finally now, fully healthy, number one's key, fully healthy. And then number two, I think a lot of his teammates, the Jeremy Bernards, the Isaiah Hortons, even wide receivers coach Jamarcus Shepard, have kind of come to him and say, young man, get back to just having fun playing the game you've played since you were a kid. I understand you got name, image, likeness out there and all of these other external factors. But the big thing here is it's the same pigskin. It's the same football field. It's the same game that you've been playing since you were 6 years old. Get back to just having fun with it. And last week against Tennessee, you saw Ryan Williams not just healthy again, but getting back to having fun with it.
So as you well know, Stephen, because of the offensive line position not having statistics that are readily available, you've got to be some kind of junkie that goes to Pro Football Focus or whatever to keep up with offensive line play. Sometimes there's a guy like a Caden Proctor that's a 5-star, a lot of expected of him, and maybe makes a few mistakes as a freshman like he did and was manhandled at times. And then people kind of lose track of, the name's still there and people still know the name and know what's expected of him. But because you can't go to a stat sheet and say, well, he ran for 112 yards today to know what he did. What are your thoughts about his development in particular? And then you can go into the entire Alabama offensive line.
Well, let's start with this, Mark. Against Tennessee, he didn't give up a sack. And that's against a pass rush that coming in. Tennessee was leading the SEC with 26 sacks? And Bama did not give up one to that Tennessee pass rush. So big kudos to Caden Proctor doing more than holding his own against some of the better edge rushers in college football that play for the Volunteers. And then the whole offensive line as a whole, I think this group is starting to grow in terms of the pass blocking. The run blocking, you want to see more, right? You want to see more of Alabama truly run the football. They're doing enough to where it keeps you honest in, well, I can't overplay my hand to Ty Simpson because Bama still does have that run threat. So they've been running the ball better here as of late with Jam Miller, with Keenan, with my guy there, Kevin Riley, who has jumped off the charts coming from the 5th string running back to the 2nd string behind Jam. But of course, Daniel Hill is getting reps in there also. So Bama is starting to run the ball better as of late, but you got to give the offensive line credit, not giving up a sack to Tennessee. Ryan Grubb is finding creative ways to use Caden Proctor, but then you also have young guys getting out there, Mark. You look at Michael Carroll. He's getting after the freshman at offensive tackle. You're seeing Jackson Lloyd getting looks out there. You're seeing just different guys. Olase Nanin, another young player, but starting to come into his own, getting looks out there. So the line in itself starting to grow and get better as we're getting to the second half of the season, not just in pass protection, but starting to find its footing here, run blocking as well.
I saw the Wisconsin game. I saw the Vandy game. I saw the Georgia game. I did not see but a few plays at Tennessee. But certainly, well, what's going on at Florida State's almost inexplicable. Maybe the most curious score right now of the entire season right now, Stephen, is that this Florida State team beat this Alabama team.
So
it's crazy to think about.
It's crazy to think about, but this is what I go back to. You caught an Alabama team that was coming into opening week, Mark, with some injuries. You had a Jam Miller with the collar ball. He couldn't play. You have a Tim Keenan, your leader on that defensive front, with an ankle. He couldn't play. So you had injuries there. Then you're catching an Alabama team that they're coming into Doak Campbell Stadium, right? That is a hard environment for anybody to play in. Then you're talking about you're catching an Alabama team at a time where Mike Norvell is preaching one word. We're desperate. We're desperate. We want to win. We want to win. And then here comes Thomas Castellanos, the quarterback, saying his statement, well, Nick Saban's not going to save them. So he has to he's going to back up what he's saying. So all of this is in one melting pot here, and it was just the perfect storm. And then you add in a Gus Malzahn, who wants to prove, hey, I can still do it too. Coming from Arkansas, and then the Auburn, and then the UCF, and now the OC at Florida State, Gus Malzahn wants to show I can still turn this thing myself. So all of that lumped together was the perfect melting pot of how that game happened.
So I'm watching that football game, and again, it seems like it was like 5 years ago now. And, it wasn't a game in which the game was close and competitive at the line of scrimmage, and Florida State just made some crazy plays and pulled it out at home. There was a decided rushing advantage. It was like 250 to 80 or something like that.
Yes.
Bama just got beaten down defensively. So what have you seen out of the Bama defense since that week one? Because they've played one of the tougher schedules in college football since then and obviously held up.
Well, I think it's been kind of bend but don't break, Mark. I look at this defense and I go back to that 2009 defense. Remember that 2009 Bama team where it wasn't always pretty? Kentucky was like, ooh, that was tough. South Carolina, ooh. The Arkansas game, ooh, Ole Miss, and then Tennessee, like Bama did a break, and it took, the two Terrence Cody field goals, blocked field goals off Daniel Lincoln to beat Tennessee there. It's kind of that bend but don't break. Bama will give a little bit here and give a little bit there, but when it's time to bow up and not allow something to take place, they're able to have that and bow up. I go back to the Tennessee game, Mark, the play that changed it. Joey Aguilar and the Vols, they've got the ball on Bama's 3-yard line. You're down 16-7. You score, you go into halftime down 16-14. And what a play by the Bama defense, recognizing it, bowing up, and Xavier Brown, the sophomore, makes just a heads-up big-time play. Saw the ball, saw the quarterback's eyes, jumped the route, and not just picked it, but housed at 99 yards. That was a 14-point swing. You go from being down 2 at the half to you're down 16 at the half. You're Tennessee. So it's an Alabama defense that's bend but don't break. I mean, Tennessee coming in was averaging, 48 points a game? You hold them to 20. Georgia, you held them to their lowest output upon playing them, which was 21. You held Vanderbilt to its lowest output upon playing them, which, Vanderbilt only scored, 14? And then even Missouri, you held them down. So this has been a bend but don't break approach here for Alabama. Of course, You want to see this Kane Womack defense do more against the run, absolutely. But he's been able to make adjustments. As small as they've been, he's been able to make adjustments to where in the second half, Alabama's been able to put a stop to some things.
Gotta like that, Stephen. We got the godfather of the SEC chiming in here with a contribution. We appreciate that. Stephen M. Smith, the legend.
Hey, gotta love the Godfather, my guy Waylon right there. Show some love here to me. I appreciate the Godfather right there.
There you go. One more thing before we let you go, Stephen. Just looking at the South Carolina game, and they present to a certain extent a different version of a Diego Pavia or a Joey Aguilar, but mostly Pavia in regards to the mobility of a Lenore Sellers, although he's at a different level, possibly athletically, but tough to corral. But South Carolina having their issues. They only scored a touchdown against Oklahoma. Bama's like an 11.5-point favorite. Anything in particular jump out to you about sizing up this one?
Well, first and foremost, mark the atmosphere that's going to be at Williams-Brice Stadium. That is an electric atmosphere in Columbia. Like you thought Columbia, Missouri was something. Columbia, South Carolina is a whole different animal. I was there in 2019 when they played, when Tua Tagovailoa took that group to South Carolina. That's a massive atmosphere. Now, yes, Tua, Najee Harris, and that crop of receivers, Judy, Ruggs, Smith, Waddle, they got done. The score was 47-23, but that was still a crazy atmosphere in and of itself. And that's going to be something. This is a South Carolina team that last year took Bama down to the wire. Lenore Sellers played well. He did have an interception, but South Carolina is kicking itself because if a couple of balls would have bounced the way of the Gamecocks, that's a different ball game. And it took Damani Jackson ending that game with a late interception to win that 27-25 at Bryant-Denny. So Kevin DeBoer knows we're walking into an atmosphere where we got to have our A game. We got to have our A game. We got to be prepared to play. And he talked about Lenore Sellers today. That's a young man. You've got to rally to him. You cannot just bring him down with one guy. You got to get to that man before he gets going. Because not only does he beat you in the run game, he's improved the passing game as well, Mark. And this is a South Carolina team that, yes, they have not had the season they've wanted. They're 3-4, 3-5 entering this game. But once again, a couple of things go bad for South Carolina. This is a much better record here for the Gamecocks. So you got to go into this game with your focus on. And also, you know who's on the other sideline, Mark, and that's Mike Schumer, who's at South Carolina. You know Mike Schumer in his mind is thinking, I got a chance to face my former team again. What is going through his mind right now is Schumer over there.
Well, Stephen, it's always good to see you. Always good to get the Bama breakdown. So we appreciate you stopping by, Stephen. So God bless and have a great night, sir.
Absolutely. You take care, Mark.
Our guy, Stephen M. Smith, stopping by to break down the Tide. They've got a date against South Carolina, 11.5-point favorite for the Tide. Of course, they've got the opening day loss, and they've been perfect since. Speaking of which, we got a nice little super chat coming in from our guy, Adam. Catch the Redkers show. Let me make sure. I always get this. We got too many shows here. I used to be able to. Well, first of all, I hosted all of them so I could keep them in my head, but now I can't. It's either Monday or Tuesday. Guess Adam will let us know in the chat. I believe it's Monday because we got a social media meeting that our guy Gabe has to leave to host the Redkers show. So I believe it's 7 p.m. on Monday. Catch Adam and Gabe's breakdown on the Scarlet Knights. And if I know Adam, I'm sure he slips in some like national analysis. Can't help himself, I'm sure. So again, Rutgers, get there on Monday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Adam says here, Mark, Michigan will defeat Ohio State, which has had a weak schedule, 24-20, and sneak into the playoff. Okay. I predicted both Ohio State and Michigan to make the playoff, by the way, before the season started. Alabama is the most dangerous team right now and will defeat Ohio State 28-24 in the title game. Okay, well, if all of that happens, that would line up with my off-season predictions pretty well. Carson Beck is a disgrace. Well, Carson Beck looked a little shell-shocked on Friday night. Once he threw a couple picks, the last couple were, there was one he threw in that game where he must have underthrown the guy by, I don't know what he was looking at, but man, he threw it in a crowd downfield about 30 yards, and he either overthrew somebody across the middle or he underthrew someone. And it started to unravel there for Carson Beck, and they still only lost by 3 to Louisville. All right, we got Rob stopping by here at the Voice of College Football. Rob, what's going on?
Hey, Mark, that's an excellent point because I know you had a caller on there earlier. I forget his name, but he was talking about Auburn. And anyways, he was saying, like, Auburn would destroy any team in the ACC by several touchdowns. And I just thought that was a fairly funny comment. I'm not going to go too much more into it than that. But, yeah, I mean, Carson Beck throws 4 interceptions, and Miami still barely loses to Louisville. I mean, most teams, if you have 4 interceptions thrown by your starting quarterback, you're going to lose by more than 3 points to a good opponent. So it kind of tells you just how good Miami is, that was still a game going. I mean, they were marching down the field to potentially get that's why he threw that last pick. They were trying to get a winning touchdown instead of a field goal. In hindsight, the typically not, the typically conservative Mario Cristobal would normally kick a field goal and not go for it. So it's kind of a funny, like, anti-Mario Cristobal type of play where he actually is going for it and then ends up losing the game for going for it for a change.
True.
But yeah, I think Carson Beck, I don't know what to think about Miami going forward. I think it's pretty clear that if you rattle him, that's your obvious best chance of success. But he's not really easily rattled because the offensive line has typically protected him for the most part. So I still think Miami's safe, in my opinion. I think they're still going to win the ACC. But I don't think Auburn's beating Miami on, like, 9 times out of 10. It's probably going to be Miami winning that game. But I digress. I don't know if you wanted to talk about that for a second.
Well, real quick note on that, Rob, would be, and I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm just talking about if we were going to have time tonight, maybe I'll hit it tomorrow, that I wanted to go through the conference standings and just, address interesting, intriguing scenarios. And I think we're too early to get to real specific scenarios, obviously, but we can start to look at some things. One would be that Miami does not control its own destiny now. You've got 3 undefeated teams in the ACC, and only one of them plays Miami, and that's SMU. What's funny about SMU, consider this, SMU is 11-0 in the ACC since they joined the ACC. They went 8-0 last year. Technically, they lost the championship game. They're 3-0 this year. But Virginia and Georgia Tech do not play each other, and they do not play Miami. They could meet in the ACC championship game at 8-0. And even if one of them loses a game, it'd go into some kind of tiebreaker that does not involve head-to-head. But just because one of them or both of them would lose a game doesn't mean that Miami would knock them out. So that's kind of funny to think about, that Miami could go 11-1 and be out of the ACC championship game.
Well, yeah, and you also have to look at Louisville too.
Yeah, they've got one loss, but they've got the head-to-head, so they basically have a 1-game lead on Miami. Yeah,
right. Yeah, I mean, I still think in my heart of hearts, and I probably shouldn't think this because Miami's never won an ACC championship since they've been there, but I think this is their year. But yeah, it's the ACC is it's definitely a lot better than what people are giving it credit for. I think the level of competition is better than it's been in years, and that's including the fact that Clemson is horrible this year. Like, the fact that Clemson is so bad, and yet you have teams like Miami and Louisville, and Georgia Tech is still kind of a question mark to me. I think they're a little inflated. I think they're probably their bubble's gonna burst here in a little bit, but Virginia looks pretty good. I mean, I don't know. I think it's a pretty decent conference. I'm not saying it's like one of the top 2 but it's a lot. In my opinion, it's more impressive than it's been in recent years. But yeah, I mean, I think also the Big 12 being better than the Big 10 is laughable. But I did have a question about the Big 10, so I want to get your opinion on this. I think that the Big 10 is top heavy. I think most people would agree with this. You know, you got a couple, 2-3 teams in the Big 10 that are pretty much leagues above everybody else in the league. But what is your opinion on, like, say, a team like Ohio State? Is their best win? I mean, you could say Texas, I guess, but maybe Washington. I don't know. What do you think is their best win at this point in the year?
Yeah, it's not great. That's for sure.
And I'm not knocking it. I mean, Notre Dame can't talk too much. I mean, our best win is USC at this point. But I'm just saying, from an objective standpoint, if you look at Ohio State, yes, they've been incredibly dominant. Their defense looks like elite of elite. But they really, I mean, the teams that they've beaten so far are not exactly offering them an offensive challenge. And we saw what Michigan did to Washington, and Michigan got whooped by USC and Oklahoma. So it kind of brings into question, in my opinion, at least, like how. And then you look at Indiana, right? Indiana beats Oregon, who was in a dogfight with Penn State, and look what's happened to Penn State. So it's kind of hard for me to get my head around the Big Ten. I still believe teams like Indiana, Ohio State, probably Oregon, they're the cream of the crop. But I'm going to be real interested going into the playoffs to see how these teams perform going forward.
Yeah. Well, I've seen some comments in the chat pertaining to Washington and Michigan's performance and Ohio State's performance against Washington. And we can do anything with a one-game comparison or comparing two games against the same opponent. We can do all sorts of things. That's why we play the whole season and look at the totality of the performance, which Ohio State, despite not playing a great schedule, has been dominant. Now, if Ohio State was doing what it is doing to a weak schedule right now, and let's say they were Nebraska, they were the Nebraska of last year and the year before and the year before. They were the Nebraska program. And then they showed up and they were pasting everyone, but it was a fairly weak schedule and weaker than we anticipated. Well, we would have some doubts. We would have quite a few doubts because we would be like, well, this is impressive and they're taking care of business, but they haven't played anyone. And the couple teams that were supposed to be really good aren't. But this isn't Nebraska. It's Ohio State. It's like these same players, this same program, like they're proven. It's almost like the comment I made a number of times when we led into the season that if there's a team or a program, I'm not saying that they're the best, and I didn't say it at the time, but if there's a team that I'm almost certain that I'm more certain of anybody is one of the best, it's Ohio State. And again, has their schedule backed that up? Not necessarily, but we're talking about and I know what happened 20 years ago doesn't affect what happened today. That's not what I'm saying, but it's been unbroken, basically. Like, this program is elite, so they've given us no reason not to believe that they're still elite. Texas is still the best win. It's got the best. They're the best talented, the most talented team. Look at what they did to Oklahoma 2 weeks ago. They're still the most talented team, the best team that they've played. They're better than Washington. That's the best win. Now, like you said, about making all sorts of comparisons, and we can go all over the place. A couple of years ago, I strung together like 8 degrees of separation and had Northern Arizona beating Ohio State. So you can do all sorts of things. And I know Michigan fans are proud that their team beat Washington the same way Ohio State did. And the games were very comparable. But let's not forget that Michigan's only 1 week away from playing Wisconsin and beating them by, like, they were leading by 1 score in the fourth quarter. So, and obviously Ohio State just annihilated them. So, that's why we look at the entire resume.
Right.
I think Ohio State's a great football team that needs to find a maybe not dominant, but a very strong running game that they don't have right now, and that may keep them from winning the national championship.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I definitely agree with basically everything you just said. I think Ohio State is proven. They have a ridiculous amount of talent every single year. They're beating everybody. Like, all you can ask your team to do is go out there and beat the opponent that is put in front of them. And Ohio State's doing that not only every week, but they're doing it convincingly. So they haven't really been tested. Michigan fans I find to be hilarious because, I mean, not all Michigan fans, but I mean, some, you look at there's some excuses coming in. Like, I saw, like, how Notre Dame beat USC the other day, that they're like, oh, well, if Michigan played USC this week, we'd pace them. I'm like,
now that's insane to make
I'm
that
like,
comment.
yeah, I'm like, guys, you had your shot. You got bullied. You got absolutely bullied. USC made you guys look like the sisters of the poor, and now you're saying, well, now if we had a second shot at USC, we're going to push them all over the place and show them who's boss. It's like, I don't know
Well, yeah,
that
that is a completely insane and idiotic statement to make, and this is why. Yes, there are all sorts of teams in the country that if they played again could have a different outcome. We don't know. Yeah, you could take practically everyone in the Big Ten from the bottom 5 up to Ohio State and Indiana and maybe Oregon, and they could all play each other. We would have all sorts of outcomes all over the place. USC, Iowa, Illinois, Michigan, etc., Minnesota. We would have all sorts of outcomes if they played 3 weeks later. Yes, welcome to college football among decent to good teams. But you don't say that after you just got pummeled. If they lost on the last second field goal, then you walk away from that game and you say, we have no idea who the better team was. But there was no question that USC was the far superior team on that day than Michigan. That can't be debated in any way.
Yeah, I wanted to throw that out there because I thought you might get a kick out of that, and I thought it was pretty funny myself.
And,
what I was talking
our
about,
buddy, not to cut you off,
yeah,
Rob, but my buddy Mike Ford is just saying exactly what I'm talking about here. Like, Iowa beat Wisconsin by 3 more points than Ohio State. Is Iowa better than Ohio State? Obviously, they're not. That's why we look at the entire resume.
right.
Iowa doesn't compare to Ohio State. I think we all know that.
Yeah, and my question earlier about the Big Ten, real quick, was it's not soloing out the Big Ten, because I also have my questions about the SEC. I mean, you look at a lot of these teams that were getting ballooned up by other SEC teams, like Ole Miss, for instance. Their best win was against LSU. Well, that hasn't aged real well. Now, I will say Ole Miss equated themselves fairly well against Georgia, but this is you just don't know about the SEC. I'd say they're the best conference still, but I think they're also a little bit overrated overall. Oklahoma got pasted by Texas, who has not looked good this year. Texas just almost lost to Kentucky last week. And we saw Oklahoma, they've had their highs. The way they beat Michigan was impressive, but they had a healthy John Mateer at the time. Anyway, my point is, we can't make these absolute definitive, going back to what you were saying about truth and opinion. I believe the SEC is the best conference. I don't know it to be 100% true, because I have my questions about the SEC as well. I just can't wait for these playoffs. I mean, obviously the rest of the season's ahead of us. There's still a lot of great football to be played, but very much looking forward. I have one question for you, Mark, because I want to shout out one of my favorite players on my team that doesn't get any love. Notre Dame, everybody's throwing love at Jeremiah Love, Jadarian Price, CJ Carr, whatever. Adon Schuler has been, in my opinion, the most important player on that Notre Dame defense. He's I call him the glue of the defense, because Christian Gray's backslid to a ridiculous degree. He's playing far worse this year than he did last year. And, I mean, Leonard Moore is still, in my opinion, the best corner in the country. I mean, once they put him on Mekhi Lemon, he shut him down. But Adon Schuler has just made so many huge plays, especially in the run game, and just tackling. His tackling has just been fantastic. Who on Ohio State is your personal, you want to give a shout out to defensively?
Well, I would say that there's always a corner or two, going back to the Jim Tressel era, where Ohio State has maybe collectively had the best secondary in the country during, a 20-year, we could argue all night. There's other schools in the running, obviously, but that guy now isn't really well known. Jermaine Matthews, he's an exceptional player and just getting better and better. He's airtight, and he's a phenomenal player. So I'll steer away from some of the more obvious choices. Their two linebackers have been exceptional. Sonny Styles, playing more a hybrid safety. But anyway, Arvell Reese. But I'll say Jermaine Matthews.
Nice. Well, always fun talking to you, Mark. I'll get off here, so maybe someone else can jump on.
Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it.
No problem.
And one thing that Rob said there that I will alter just slightly, because yes, to say the SEC is the best conference, that is opinion. It's not fact in any such way. But to say that the SEC has played the best this year is actually the truth. That is reality. The SEC outside the conference is 11-4 against the other conferences. The Big Ten is 6-7, might be 6-8 now that USC lost to Notre Dame. I think it might be 6-8. 6-8 for the Big Ten, and the wins are not very impressive. The Texas win is the Ohio State win against Texas is the Big Ten's best win the entire season. Yeah. And there's not even a close second. Second place might be a win against Duke. Yeah. A win against Duke or Cincinnati. That's probably the second best win for the Big Ten. Yeah. Texas, Cincinnati, and Duke. I'm not bashing on the Big Ten. I just tell the truth. I just lay it out the way it is. That doesn't mean that the SEC is better than the Big Ten, but the SEC has played better than the Big Ten. It's not even close going outside the conference. Now, the debate about the better conference kind of becomes null and void to a certain extent because there's going to be four teams from each conference that are going to reach the college football playoff. So think about this. There are going to be like four teams that miss the playoff from the SEC that are just as good as like two teams that make it from the SEC. You're not going to see, okay, right this second. I hate to take those hats off there, but vocfb.com, get yourself a hat, a koozie, a tumbler, a mug, a tea, vocfb.com. So if we look at the standings, let's say the college football playoff started this weekend. And where's the SEC? Let's say, we're not going to be real technical here, but certainly Texas A&M and Bama would play in the SEC championship game. And let's say we'll just go through the list. We'll just stay with the top four. Texas A&M, Bama, Georgia, and Ole Miss, which makes sense because Texas has 2 losses. But let's say those 4 teams make the playoffs out of the SEC. Texas A&M, Bama, Georgia, and Ole Miss. Well, the way things are going in the SEC, we could reach the playoff and say, well, Texas is pretty much just as good as Ole Miss, or Missouri's about in that league too, and certainly Oklahoma is, and Vandy, they've played, they're LSU and Tennessee, and there's like 4 or 5 teams that are just as good as the final 2 bids in the SEC. The Big Ten, it's a little more spread out. It's more like Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon to some extent. And obviously you got to go with Indiana as being the best team in the Big Ten or the second best team, whichever. I can go either one on that because they decidedly beat Oregon, and Oregon's kind of by themselves. And then who knows after that, because if you say it's Michigan, well, USC would say maybe it's not Michigan because look at what we did to Michigan, but Illinois beat USC and so forth and so on. Well, Illinois would be the one team to say, you know what, the two heavyweights beat us. Nobody else has beaten us. But so point being that the SEC has played better than the other conferences. Yeah, that's really not debatable. Doesn't mean it's the best conference, but they have played the best. They have played the best. All right. There was one other point I was going to make. Rob was asking about Ohio State and kind of conjecturing on their dominance. And if you looked at their schedule preseason, not that it looked super daunting, but it looked like it had like 4 minefields or 4 mines in the field of schedule. Texas, Penn State, possibly a trip to Washington, possibly a trip to Illinois, and Michigan. Well, now they've cleared 3 out of those 5, and they weren't so daunting. And Texas isn't what we expected. Penn State certainly isn't. But, you know, we saw Clemson teams in the 2016 and 2018 seasons not play the toughest schedules in the country by far, playing weak ACCs. Although 2016, the ACC was very strong. But my point being, you don't have to be the best. To be the best team, you don't have to play the best competition or be in the best conference. You just have to be the best team. You know, Ohio State was the best team in college football last year. They did not play in the best conference. 2023, I'd have to go back to my comparison between the SEC and the Big Ten. I don't recall who I sized up as the best conference. I think it was like pretty much neck and neck there. All right, folks, appreciate you being here, the Voice of College Football. Our Wednesday starts with the Ohio State show, actually at 10 a.m. Eastern, usually at 11, but we've got to go an hour early on the Ohio State show on Wednesday. So 10 a.m. Eastern, the Buckeyes show, and then I do the Miami show at 7. And then we've got this here show coming up on Wednesday night as well. So appreciate you being here. Thank you for the contributions. Please hit the like button on the way out, and we will see you on Wednesday.